What's up, everybody? It's Jamel Gibbs, your family-oriented entrepreneur. Welcome to another YouTube Live. Today, we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about creative financing. A lot of people on the channel have questions in regards to how to execute a creative financing deal. There's a lot of moving parts to creative financing in general. You have seller financing, you have subject to, you have lease options and wraps and things like that. Sometimes I just saw it earlier today. A lot of people, they'll intertwine creative financing in respect to seller financing with subject to, and there is a difference between the two, although both of them are creative finance types of deals. So we're going to talk about all of your questions via creative finance, and we got my man Sam Dolcine on the line. He's going to moderate. I'm going to answer questions. We're going to have a lot of fun for the next hour or so. So do me a favor before we get started. I want you to do exactly what the screen says. I want you to subscribe. I want you to like. I want you to share. I want you to throw us some love and show us that you're active with us. You know, we want to make sure that we're having a lot of fun today with you guys, and we want to make sure that you're getting the value that we came to give. But the only way for us to know that you're getting that value is by the love that you show us, right? So we're going to have a great conversation today. I know over the next few minutes, there's going to be a lot of people joining us. But in the meantime, Sam, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, man?
Thanks, man. Well, first, Jamel, appreciate you, man, letting me get on your platform. Been following your work for some time. So glad that we're starting to collaborate a bit more. And so for everybody, my name is Sam Dolcine, Haitian American, first generation Haitian American, grew up in Brooklyn. I am the host of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. And on that show, I interview successful Black investors, developers, and real estate professionals. I've had the pleasure of having Jamel on the show, and he added a whole lot of value. So I'm excited about this conversation. And you ready for it, man?
I'm ready, man. So look, before we jump into this, you know, I know we have a couple people on the line, and we're expecting that number to grow as time goes on. But before we even jump into this, make sure y'all check out Sam's YouTube page. Is at Black Real Estate Dialogue. We call it the Bread Podcast. Definitely check them out. It's a pretty dope podcast. I know you guys are gonna love the content that you see on there. It's in real time, real people doing real deals, active real estate investors, not real estate guru-ish type of stuff, right? So definitely check out the podcast. I love it. One of my favorite podcasts myself. And check them out on Instagram as well. What's your Instagram handle, bro?
Black Real Estate Dialogue.
There you go. Check them out. Black Real Estate Dialogue on Instagram and YouTube. And he has about 250,000 followers total or something like that on IG.
Like IG, that. I think it's like 85, about 85 or 86, something like that.
85, 86. Okay, cool, man. Yeah. So definitely check them out. Obviously, if 86,000 people are following you on IG, you're doing something right. Right. So you definitely want to check them out. Definitely providing value. And we're going to be doing a lot of content together on this YouTube page, as well as, other platforms as well. So definitely check him out because you're going to see a lot of them. We're going to be doing a lot of things together coming up. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and take it away, bro.
All right. So, man, the first thing I want to talk about, there's so much talk about interest rates. Everybody is scared because of interest rates. And what I've been telling people is that you should be excited because of these high interest rates, because it creates more opportunity for investors like us, because everybody's scared. Everybody's on the sideline. So those who are looking to buy their dream home, they're waiting for rates to go down to 3.5% again, which may never happen. And so I think it's a great time for people to get into real estate right now. So what's your take on that? What's your take on navigating the high interest rates and some of the things that you've heard?
Absolutely. The beautiful part about getting into creative finance, number one, is you can creatively put together a deal. And when you're creatively putting together these deals, you can call the interest rate. You can set the terms on however you want to structure the deal. So for example, this week I put out 2 videos so far. I'm putting together a series of videos because a lot of people believe that, hey, this stuff can't work in this market, right? So I decided to cut the camera on and record myself actually doing it, right? And you're seeing it in real time. I'm not cutting anything, right? No editing. You might have a little sprinkle of edits here and there, just to make the camera more enticing, where I'm zoomed in and zoomed out and stuff like that. But in reality, or the seller couldn't talk at that time. So we, for example, he said, call me back in 45 minutes. I called back in 45 minutes, right? So stuff like that, that's going to happen in real time. So I'm showing you the actual process. For people to say that this stuff doesn't work, you're not actually trying hard enough, right? My point in saying all of this is this particular seller, the only reason why I mentioned interest rate during the negotiation in today's video that we just launched was because he mentioned interest rates. Otherwise, I was going after equal monthly payments, which is 0% interest, right? Today's interest rate is at what, Sam? If we look it up, interest rate.
Let's see.
Interest rate today on mortgages. So I'm looking it up on Google right now. Today's interest rate on a mortgage, right around 7 point. This is on a 20-year fixed, right? About 7%, maybe a little lower on a 30, right? So let's just call it 7%. I literally negotiated on camera 4% in today's video. 4%. I did that I only mentioned interest rate because he brought up what type of interest are you looking to pay. So that basically told me that he's looking for interest. Had I asked for equal monthly payments, it would have been an insult. So I threw out what I believe half of today's interest rate is, which is 4%. And guess what? He's considering it. We still don't have a solid deal yet, but guess what? He's considering the deal. I gave him his asking price, right? Which is still lower than what the properties are worth. We're still buying it with some equity in it.
Yep.
But I'm buying it. But he thinks that when the price that I'm paying is high. So I offer to give him what he wants in exchange for what I want. And that's how you create these deals. This is a true win-win-win situation. You create these opportunities in real estate, and that's how it's done. So with interest rates being on a higher end, seller finance opportunities are even more enticing for somebody like me because I create my own interest rate. And on the flip side, let's say you had a subject to type of deal, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but the difference between a seller finance, just to be clear, you have seller financing and subject to. Subject to and seller financing are not the same thing. Subject to is a form of seller financing. The difference between the two is one has debt and the other one don't. With subject to, the property, the property owner has a mortgage on the property. With seller financing, the property is free and clear. And there's two types of seller financing as well. You have a land contract and you have regular seller financing, right? Contract for deed means that it's almost like when you buy a car, you don't get the title to the car until you pay it off, right? That's a contract for deed in real estate. So some states have contract for deed laws where you pay off the mortgage first and then you get the deed. The deal that I'm structuring right now in my state is a regular seller finance deal. I get the deed up front and the seller creates a note through an attorney that will allow me to pay the seller every single month. It's like going to the bank and getting a mortgage. That's basically how we structure it, how we're structuring this deal. Right. So seller financing subject to two different types of creative finance opportunities. But at the same time, going back to what I wanted to say with subject to, for example, if you can come across somebody, and this is, again, why the interest rate doesn't really matter. And in today's interest rate, with it being a little higher, subject to would be a great opportunity as well. Because if you come across somebody who can't pay their mortgage, but they have a 3.5% interest rate from 4 years ago, would you rather take over their mortgage subject to their existing interest rate, their existing mortgage? Or would you rather go to the bank and get a new loan for double the amount? You ask yourself that question. You know what I mean? So that's why creative financing is the play right now in real estate.
Love that, man. So one thing people are probably thinking about, how are you finding these sellers who either have free and clear properties, or that they might be willing to sell their financing, or who have a situation where they can't pay their mortgage, maybe they're behind, good interest rate, and you might want to think about a subject to situation. How are you even finding these people?
Simple, man. Two things. And then I'm going to get into how to find them, right? Number one, we're not buying real estate, we're buying problems, right? So we're looking for problems. If you can find a problem that you can solve, you can create a situation as beneficial for both you and the seller. So we're looking for problems. So how do you find problems? Number two, we look for distress. So we have physical distress, which basically means a house needs some work. And we have financial distress. The seller can't pay the mortgage. There's code violations on the property, which can be both, right? Physical and financial distress. There's, a ton of different financial issues that somebody can be. They can be facing personal financial issues and can't take care of the property. Maybe the house needs work and they don't have the money to put into the property. That's a double whammy, right? So that lends itself back to what I was saying. We're buying problems, not properties, right? So you position yourself in front of these types of people. That's how you find these deals. So how do you go out and do it? There's a ton of different ways. You can drive around local areas. It's called driving for dollars. I got a ton of videos on YouTube showing you how to do it. Literally, I just put out a compilation last month on how to drive for dollars in 15 minutes, right? I got so many YouTube videos on this stuff. So you can drive neighborhoods if you're limited on capital. Drive these areas, look for the eyesore properties in the area. Those are physically distressed properties. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be some financial distress there as well. Take down those properties, contact the sellers, do what you do, right? You can pull lists. In the new video that I just put out on Tuesday and today as well, I did a direct mail campaign. I purposely, because people said that this stuff doesn't work, I purposely started as a beginner. Now, naturally, I've been in the business for over 20 years. I'm not a beginner by any means, but I wanted to have the same mindset as a beginner would. So I started with a beginner's budget on a brand new list with a yellow letter that I never used before. And I sent out 1,157 yellow letters about 2 weeks ago. Started receiving phone calls last week. As of today, we got 20 phone calls total out of 1,157 leads. That's not a lot at all, right? I'm used to getting a lot more with the stuff that I use, right? We got 20 calls, 19 people not interested. We got the one person on the line that I've been having a conversation with live on video, right? So this is in real time. This is what actually happens. This guy even said he wasn't interested, but he picked up the phone and called me and didn't say, don't ever call me again. So guess what I did? I picked up the phone, I called him and just had a casual conversation and let him negotiate with himself. I didn't ask him for anything. Yep. If you really watch what I'm doing, I'm just asking questions and he's answering. And if he tries to get a number out of me, like I asked him how much he wanted for the properties, for example. He said, well, how much would you offer? Right. And I said, I asked the same exact question in a different way. Right. I rephrased the same exact question to get a number out of him. Right. So if you notice what I'm doing, I'm using something called NLP. How do you say that? Neuro linguistic programming. However you say that, look it up, Google it, right? NLP. I'm using little psychology tactics in order to be able to pull them in. Persuasion is probably the best way to say that, right? I'm using persuasion tactics in order to be able to ask effective questions, action-oriented questions that will allow me to be able to get the information that I need from him. Does that make sense? Right?
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm positioning myself in front of the right people right off the bat. Right? I'm not looking for the person that wants top dollar for their house and they're listed with a realtor. I'm going straight to the person that has the problem that I can solve. Put myself right in front of them. And I understand that I'm only looking for one, maybe two out of 100, out of 2,000, or whatever it is, that's going to have a conversation with me and allow me to make them an offer. So my goal, so I'm going to provide you guys with some information today. I'm going to provide you with some homework today. I want you guys, every single person that's looking at this right now, I want you to go out and try to have 50 meaningful conversations with property owners over the next week. 50, right? So what's a meaningful conversation to you, Sam?
If someone's willing to talk and pick up the phone and is, to your point, not saying don't ever call me again. You know, if they answer the phone, that could be the start of a meaningful conversation. And the cool thing, like I checked out the 2 videos you're talking about, and it never at all felt like salesy. And I think a lot of people
At all
might be concerned about that, but it literally was a conversation. And you, to your point, again, asking the right questions. And honestly, he talked himself into selling the property and he talked himself into the price that he'd be willing to sell it for.
And that's because I'm listening and I ask open-ended questions. What's an open-ended question, right? It's a question that you just, for example, an open-ended question could be, could you tell me a little bit about the properties? A specific question is, how many bedrooms, how many baths? Rather than asking specific questions, I'm asking open-ended questions that allow the seller to just talk, right? The more you get somebody talking, the more you learn, the more you learn, the more you earn, right? Because you can create situations that will allow you to create these type of opportunities for yourself at the end of the day, right? So a good example of that, in this second video, the guy said, look, I can't talk right now. And this is a couple of days after the first conversation. He said, look, Jamel, I can't talk right now. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to my wife because I've been dealing with, plumbing issues on 3 properties. And you notice he started talking, right? So these are things that I didn't know at first. But remember, he's 72 years old, dealing with plumbing issues, dealing with tenant headaches and all of this other stuff that goes on as a landlord. And now that raises the level of motivation that he said he didn't have, but he really does because he's talking to me on the phone. That raises that level of motivation even more. So now in the back of his mind, he's like, I don't feel like doing this at 3:00 in the morning. So now he's really considering my offer. You understand what I mean?
Definitely.
So you get them talking, you just ask questions. It should never feel like an interrogation, right? All you're doing is having a conversation. How many people are afraid to talk to people over the phone, so they never take that first step? Because they feel like they have to know everything, right? You don't. I wasn't great on the phone when I first started this. You become better by failing. Okay, that didn't work. Let me try this next time. Let me not do that next time because that got the phone hung up on me. So you got to learn. You got to start somewhere, right? And if you never pick up the phone, if you're never failing, you should be getting the failure out of the way as quickly as possible. Because if you're not failing, you're never going to get to where you want to go, ever. I made a ton of mistakes over the years. And that's the key to the whole thing. Make mistakes till you succeed. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Let's talk a bit more about those mistakes, because a lot of times, people see what you've been able to do. They see, the properties and the business and all the things you're able to do and teach others. What are some of those mistakes that you've made over the years? There's like a few that stick out to you.
I'm an experienced investor, bro. I've been investing for 22 years, right? 5 years ago, I bought a property. I bought it the same way I would buy any other property, right? The only exception is this property needed a tremendous amount more work than what I thought. I lost $81,000 on that property.
Wow.
Lost, right? Gone. That profit is gone, right? And I was paying $2,500 a month to own it and couldn't sell it. That's why I lost all of that money. And I held on to that thing for 2.5 years. But mistakes like that. Now, I can afford to make a big mistake like that. I'm a little more of a risk taker. I don't encourage everybody to do that. But that was just one. And at that point, I've been in the business for over 15 years, right? Little things like that. Being too aggressive, saying the wrong things to sellers over the phone, which is never really a bad thing. That's an inexpensive problem in reality, because you're going to say the wrong things. But if you're not learning from what you're saying, then that's where the mistake is made. If you do the same thing 2 and 3 times and you keep doing making the same, repeating the same mistakes, then obviously you're gonna cost yourself money, right? So little things. I can't say I made, yeah, I could say I probably made every mistake in a book, right? But the one that really stood out to me was the first time I lost 81 grand. That was that was a headache and a half, man. And I'm glad it happened to me so that I can show you what not to do. You know what I mean? I'm glad I survived that to be able. I had the ability to survive something like that so that I can tell you what not to do in the next one. Number one, it was in a market that I never invested in. It was a smaller town. I basically broke every rule that I follow, with the exception of buying the property. I thought it was a 7,000 square foot home, but it needed like $250,000 in work. It was worth a tremendous amount of money. I literally bought this property for $65,000. And I found out why I bought it for $65,000. So on paper, it looked great. What didn't look good was the market it was in, lower population, not a lot of activity in the area. So it was really hard for me to sell it on the other end. You know what I mean? And that was the rule that I broke, and I had to learn from it. That was an $81,000 seminar, I like to call it.
That's funny, man. So one of the things I want to go back to, you mentioned you sent over 1,100 letters. So in those letters, what was the message? Like, what did you say? And then how did you even figure out, all right, these are the set of people I want to reach out to and see if I can get a deal done?
I have to be perfectly honest with you, man. I don't even know what the letter says. I can look it up real quick, but this was a brand new letter. I didn't write this letter. Gotcha. I used a stock. I purposely did something that most people would do. I write my own copy. For those of you who don't know what copy is, I write my own message on my postcards. I didn't want to do that. Most people don't know how to write messages on postcards. So I used a stock message that came with the yellow letter. And the results speak for it, because the results suck, to be honest with you, man. But I can read out to you what it says. Let me just look it up for you real quick. It wasn't 20 phone calls out of how many I said I sent? 1,157. Yep. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. 1,157 letters sent. Let me look at the postcard here. This particular yellow letter. Give me 1 second here. Letter proof. Okay. 1 second. Okay. So this letter here, that's the envelope. That's not the letter. I'm trying to get it for. Okay, here we go. It says, "Hi, my name is," and I use my wife's name. Normally, I would use my name, but I wanted to try something different. So my wife's name is Ariel, right? Like the mermaid. "Hi, my name is Ariel. I'm interested in purchasing your house at 123 Main Street. There are several options available for people who are thinking of selling. To discuss your options, please call me at this phone number." And then signed Ariel. That was it. Simple letter. Normally something like that, I didn't want to come across as aggressive. I didn't want to, you know what I mean? Because there's some of my stuff can be really aggressive, like property notification, like urgent message, right? I usually send stuff like that, which, people will be really pissed off. But this one was more laid back. It was more of a casual letter that I sent. That's exactly what it said. And I got 20 phone calls out of it. I can show you that if you want. I'm not sure how to share the screen on this thing, but 20 phone calls, one interested party. That one party can potentially equal 4 doors, which will, after doing the math, is about $480 a month in positive cash flow. So
it's pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. So as far as seller financing, so a beginner, something they might be thinking about is, well, how do I structure it? Because if I go to the bank and get a 30-year mortgage, it's pretty cut and dry, at closing what is going to be. And I can maybe even project, what about how much I'm going to pay. Whereas with seller financing, it's a completely gray area. There's a lot of back and forth that you're doing with the seller to figure out what works. So what's your advice around that? Like, how should somebody approach figuring out the right price and also figuring out the right payment with the seller?
Yeah, man. So I just listen. What's important to do, you have two ears and one mouth for a reason, right? You listen twice as much as you talk, right? So what you really want to do is listen to the seller. Listen to what they tell you, right? I do my numbers beforehand, so I know what the properties are worth before I even call, right? So if you notice in a video from the other day, what was it, Tuesday, I showed you, look, I'm going to do this, which was run the comps and kind of get an idea of what these properties are worth. So when I call this guy, if he comes in, if these properties are worth 200, he's asking 300,000, we're not even in the ballpark. I don't need to continue this conversation, right? But this guy came in under what my potential numbers were, right? What the property values were. So I immediately wanted to continue the conversation. I didn't know that he was going to be asking for 190, for example. So the point is, I'm listening to what he's saying, and then I'm going to create the situation based on that. Just same thing with the interest rate. I'm going in thinking I want 0% interest, but he brought up interest. So that tells me that he wants interest on these properties. And common sense will tell me I don't want to pay today's rate. So what's a reasonable amount that I think can be a good deal for both of us in order for us to be able to make this happen? So what I do, I'll pull up a mortgage calculator right on Google. I'll put the price that he wants in there. I'll put the interest rate that I feel like it needs to be in order for us to make this deal. Let's see what that payment is going to be. Let's add the taxes and insurance into it. Can we make this work? You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll create equal monthly payments. So I'll look at the rents and what they're going for in the area and offer them half of that as a monthly payment. You know what I mean? That's how you get 0% interest. Right. But it just depends on the conversation with the seller. So I'm literally listening to what they're telling me, and I'm creating an opportunity that they can be interested in. He asked me for $40,000 down, 20%. I said, no, how about I'll give you 20 grand down, right? I didn't have to agree to his 40. I told him half of it, and he didn't say no. You only get what you ask for. So we're creating these opportunities literally by listening to what they're saying and then introducing something that we want out of it as well. Make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And I want to reiterate, like, you talk about having a conversation. It's not, you're coming in, I'm doing a hard sale. Like, it's not like that at all. I think that should make people really feel more at ease, right? Because you do your homework ahead of time. You figure out what they're worth, so you know roughly what you're willing to pay for it. You ask the questions, you talk to them, you introduce things like you said, you hear what they have to say, and then you go from there. But it's really, if they're open and they're willing to work, which this guy clearly is, then hopefully you can meet somewhere that works for both parties, which is important to your point again. But I don't think it's something people need to be so scared about, because once you find somebody who's willing to talk, you never know what can happen.
That's it, man. And yes, you can have a script in front of you. I think the best salespeople in the world have scripts, right? But notice, I had my script up on the screen in the first video, but I didn't necessarily use it. I just, if I looked on the script, and on the property information sheet, which is not necessarily it's not a word for word script. I'm still coming up with my own dialogue at that point. These are questions that I need, information that I need from the seller in order to be able to dictate where I want to go with this thing, right? So I don't believe in scripts, man. One thing I learned when I was down on Wall Street, if you take two people, you put one of them in a dark room with a light bulb and a desk and a phone, and you take another guy and you put them in a community room with a bunch of people, and they both have the same goal. You can get, $10,000 if you get a qualified lead and you get them to send you $100 grand over the phone. Guess who's going to come out as the winner? It's the person that's by themselves without a script, who just has nothing in the room, no distractions, but a phone and a desk. That person is always going to perform better than the person that's in the community. So the point of that is just having laser focus. You don't need a script. You have the script right here. You talk to people every single day, right? As long as you understand what type of information you need to get, which is basically asking open-ended questions to get the seller to talk, the script will come to you. You know what I mean? Look, you're coming up with questions right now for me, right? This is not scripted. You're trying to learn about creative finance. I'm sure you're learning something about creative finance at this point, right? But you're coming up with the questions. You don't have a script in front of you. We're dialoguing, right? Anybody can do it. The key is to just have a conversation. Most people are afraid to take the first step, which is to pick up the phone and make the call. And that's where the problem lies. That's why most people, because they're stuck in their comfort zone, they get comfortable results.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just a
true.
fact, man.
It's true. It's true. So let's take it a step further. So you talked about subject to, and for a lot of people, it might feel complicated just the way that it's structured. And so what tips do you have around finding people who are in situations where that might be the best thing for them and their credit and stuff? And then what is the conversation like from that point once you identify the person in that situation?
Two things, man. Let me rephrase what I just said. I said, if you are comfortable, you're going to get comfortable results. What I meant was, if you're comfortable, you're going to get uncomfortable results, right? Because if you're uncomfortable, you get the comfortable result. So that's a bar right there. Anyway, man. So to answer your question, so somebody that is just getting started, they don't really have the financial means to go out and pay cash for a property. So they have to incorporate something like a subject to, right? So how do you find those types of leads? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
It's simple, man. Look, pre-foreclosures. That's all I got to say. One word, pre-foreclosures. Right? You focus on pulling pre-foreclosure leads. Right now, we're killing it with pre-foreclosures. Right? So pre-foreclosures are people who have mortgages, but they can't afford to live there. A lot of these people are in the scenario that we just spoke about a little while ago. They have lower interest rates than what today's interest rate is. So you pull a pre-foreclosure list, you send them some direct mail. I just gave you one. I'm not saying that that's the best one, but find out what works for you in that list and contact the people, man. Pull free pre-foreclosure leads. If you don't have the money to send direct mail, pick up the phone and call them, right? It'll cost you way less money to skip trace it, to get their phone numbers, and simply call them. But you got to do something. You can't get away with doing nothing, right? You got to sacrifice something, either time or money. Which one are you willing to sacrifice in order to be able to make this happen for yourself? That's it.
Definitely. What's the benefit to the seller for doing a subject to deal?
There's a ton of benefits, man. You got tax benefits. Think about this. If I'm a seller, I'm behind on my mortgage, for example, I don't have the money to catch up on the payment, right? I'm going to get foreclosed on. That's why they call pre-foreclosures, right? I'm going to get foreclosed on. It's going to ruin my credit, right? If I can catch up this mortgage, if I can come up with the money to catch up this mortgage and alleviate the payment by giving that monthly payment to somebody else, it can improve my credit. I won't have to come up with the money. And in addition to that, I get to alleviate the whole problem. So I can do that through an investor. And that's just a simple way of explaining it. So an investor can catch you up on a mortgage if they have the money. An investor can take over the monthly payments because an investor has the knowledge of what to do in order to be able to not have to pay for the property, right? An investor can help you improve your credit provided they make their payments on time. We do it all the time. There's a ton of benefits when an investor is taking over a property subject to, both for the investor and the property owner.
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense. So in that situation, at what point does the property change ownership? Is that something you negotiate with the
Yeah,
seller, or how does that work?
So there's a couple of things to it. Number one, with a subject to, we get power of attorney and we get the deed up front, right? The reason why we get power of attorney is because we can buy a property subject to, and you know, there may, let's say we close on it subject to, and the seller, we needed information from the bank, for example, right?
Yeah.
Um, the bank is not going to talk to us unless we have some type of power of attorney, right? Another thing, the seller can always say, yeah, I sold you this property, but you know, they can tell the bank that, I didn't want to sell this property. They can make something up, right? It can always come back to you. So when you have power of attorney, you can talk to the bank. Number one, you can, like what we do is we'll set up a completely separate bank login uh, with that particular bank in order to be able, we'll, if the seller has bank login details, we'll get their login details and change the password, change the email, right? Because now we're dealing directly with the bank and making the payments auto draft out of our account, right? But the point is, the power of attorney allows you to communicate with the bank, and we take the deed up front, but the mortgage stays in the seller's name. That's on subject to. On seller finance, we create a note. We use a third-party mortgage servicing company. We pay through them. We never give the money direct to the seller. So it's being auto-drafted out of our account, our monthly payment, going directly to the third-party note servicing company, who then will direct deposit or cut a check to the seller of the property. So that way we know that everything is being documented, right? We get a deed up front. The seller gets the note. It's recorded down at the courthouse. Everybody's happy.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. I always wondered with the seller financing, if you give the money directly to the seller. I'm sure a lot of people have wondered the same thing. You're the first person who's ever explained that you should go with like a third party company to handle things.
Documented,
Yeah.
man. And even with the down payment, I never, ever, ever, ever give a seller money, ever. It's going through the attorney. It's documented. So we're using a third party for everything. Not even an earnest money deposit. That's going to the attorney too.
Definitely. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So one of the things I wanted to ask about too. So typically, however your seller finance deal is structured, in many cases, there's a balloon payment at some point, right? So it could be 5 years, 10 years, however it's structured.
Yeah.
Some people might be worried about, well, how am I supposed to pay that? I have the income, rental income coming in, whatever the case is, and I'm able to pay, what I owe to the seller. But when that balloon payment comes up, how am I supposed to pay for that?
So let's just say, using the example that, again, I'm going back to that video because that's the newest thing that everybody can actually see is visual, right? So I structured a 15-year amortization, which basically means it's going to lower the amount that I have to pay him every month. But it's not so low like a 30-year where he's going to be like, oh, I can't go that low. I'm making this much money on the house already. Why should I sell it to you at that low of a payment, right? So it feels a little bit better. So he gets a similar payment than what he's getting right now, a little lower, but he also alleviates the problems that the property has, right? So I did a 15-year. I might, after bringing in a third property, I'm considering a 20-year amortization, which that number would be perfect for me. But my point is, I figure out what my monthly payment is going to be. Let's say, and I offered him a balloon payment because he kept saying, I'm 72 years old. I don't want to. So again, listening to what he said helped me to structure the deal. He keeps saying, I'm 72. I don't want to finance. All right. So what if you did it and I'll give you all your money in 5 years, 60 payments, right? So I offered him a balloon payment. I got 5 years. If my credit sucks right now, which it doesn't, but if it did, I got 5 years to fix my credit. I got 5 years to be able to become mortgageable, to be able to refinance that property. It's easier to refinance than it is to purchase, right? I got 5 years. If I can't do something on the property myself, I got 5 years to sell the property. You know what I mean? 5 years is a long time. So you give yourself a window where something, 5 years is a long time, man. In reality, it's plenty of time to be able to make some moves. You might pay off the property in 5 years if you keep doing real estate. You know what I mean? So I don't concern myself with that. My real concern is to being able to control the property first. I worry about the exit strategy, as I'm closing the deal. You know what I mean? But for most people, they think about these what if questions. What if this happens, right? I don't live by what if. I live by doing action. I live right now. This is what's happening. What if didn't happen? This is what's happening. What if I didn't make that phone call? Would I be talking to the seller about the deal? No. You know what I mean? So anybody to me, what if questions, I have a saying, what if questions will leave you broke, right? I don't live by what if. I live by what's actually happening, reality.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And something I like telling people is like know enough to get to the finish line. There's a lot of people who want to do everything with a fine tooth comb. Like the reality of it is like
that's not reality, bro. Life
yep,
don't work that way. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, that's a fact. That's a fact. And it's just about what's the next step. People try to think so far into the future, and by the time you're still thinking, somebody else has the deal. So I like that you approach it that way. And I think it's important. I think it's important for people to just get over themselves really in that area, or otherwise you'll just be consuming. You'll never actually do anything if you're just thinking about every single possible scenario. I mean, it's not really beneficial to only do that and not ever try. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what, man? That goes back to the old saying, you got something called analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
People become information hoarders, education seekers, but not doing anything with the information. Information without action is useless, right? Yep. It doesn't mean anything. If you don't do something with what you learn, then you're basically wasting time. You're taking up space. Don't take up space. Do something with what you learn. Action takers get results. Non-action takers hate. They wonder why this happened for that person and not for them. That's just what it is, man.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, there's a lot of smart, capable people who are knowledgeable, Absolutely. Who have the money, and they're getting outpaced by somebody who has not even a fraction of that. But what they have is hustle, and what they have is like work ethic, and they're continuing to try. They're working until they can get that first deal. Whereas you have somebody who has it all, they just can't get over that mental blocker of not taking action. So, I mean, that's what it's all about.
And then you got a lot of excuse makers as well, man. Let me tell you a story I told in my coaching class last night. So this is a story. I never told anybody this story until last night. And only people that know this story was the people that experienced it with me. 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago, my mother was suffering from cancer. Some people on my YouTube channel, they know it, right? So if you can look up the facts, right? 2016, the winter of 2016, it was a huge snowstorm here in North Carolina. About mid-December, right? I was running a real estate seminar at that time. 2 weeks before the seminar, we had a huge snowstorm. I was running a two-day real estate seminar. It was a 2-hour event. We got snowed out. So it was either make the decision of going or not, right? We chose to go, and, some people invested to come to the 3-day seminar. The day before my live seminar, literally the day before, my mother died of cancer, right? Now, what will most people do in that situation? The day before the seminar, your mother passed away. What will most people do?
Go home.
Go home, yeah. Right? They're not going to fulfill what they set themselves out to do. What action takers do, what winners do, what people who truly want to succeed do, and I'm different than everybody else. I'm not comparing myself to anybody. My mom passed away. I was heartbroken, right? But I had something to fulfill. I told these people I was going to do something for them. They invested to come, right? I could have done two things. I could have given all of their money back, and that would have been it, or do the seminar. I chose to do the seminar because these people were looking forward to it. I told them, my mom just passed away, so bear with me. We went through the 3-day seminar. One of the people that showed up at that seminar, it was one of his first ones. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't like mentioning names, but he has a TV show right now on A&E. Right? Had I not showed up that day, who knows? You know what I mean? But my point is, I did I did the the right thing. I was in my feelings, of course, but I did what I said I was going to do. And that's one of the things I preach. Do what you say you're going to do all the time, even if it hurts. Even if you got to take a loss, do what you say you're going to do, right? Most people would not follow through. Winners follow through. I was able to fly out the day after my seminar. We buried my mother, handled that. We did what we needed to do, took care of my family, and that was it. But we made it work. We don't quit. We don't give up. We don't make excuses. 99% of the people make excuses. I could have made an excuse. I can't do this because. And that was a valid excuse, right? My mother just passed away. But we don't make excuses. So whenever somebody tell me, man, that ain't going to work, or man, I can't do this, or I can't figure it out. All I'm hearing is an excuse. That's right. An excuse. And I can give you 1,000 stories just like that. Roll it. A lot of people think success is a straight and narrow. Success is like this, all the way up, right? If you ever seen that that drawing of the arrows? You got the two arrows next to each other, right? So a lot of people want a straightened path to success, and it just don't work that way, man. You have ups, you have downs, you have side. You get punched in the face a lot. You got to be able to heal from those bruises. We tend to forget that baby. One of the stories that I tell all the time is the baby story, right? You got babies, they don't know what it is to fail because they keep trying. They fail forward. They literally fail for you. They learn how to crawl. They might fall a couple of times on their chin, right? Till they get it. They get up. They take that first step. They're definitely going to fall a few times. My son is doing it right now, right? He's learning how to walk, right? He keeps falling. Now he learns how to fall the right way so he's not hurting himself. Now he's starting to take that step. Eventually, he's going to be walking and running, but he's failing to succeed, right? As adults, we forget what it's like to fail to succeed because we're scared to fall, right? We don't want to take the first step. We want everything to be perfect right off the bat, right? We want it to be the straight and narrow to success, but life doesn't work that way, man. You get beat up, you get slapped, you get kicked in the face a couple of times, but you get kicked in the face 2 times in real life, you break a bone, the bone heals and is that much stronger. I watched this kid on YouTube kicking wrenches, this little Asian kid kicking wrenches and breaking telephone poles with his legs, with his shins. It took years for him to be able to do that. He kept breaking his bones. They heal, they connect, they get stronger. They just keep building and building and building to the point where he doesn't even feel the kicks. Now he could kick the wrench, a metal wrench, bending the thing.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But that's the point. He kept doing it. It hurt. But now he's succeeding at bending wrenches with his shins just by kicking it. You know what I mean? Now imagine what he can do to a person. My point is this. You got to fail. You got to make mistakes. You can't forget what it was like to be a kid learning how to walk. You're going to fall. The key is what you do when you're on that ground. Are you going to get up or are you going to stay down? I chose to get up and kept getting up until I succeeded. And I'm still learning. I've been doing this for 22 years. I'm still learning how to do things right. I still make mistakes. The key is to minimize the mistakes by becoming a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. That's what it is, man.
Definitely, man. So there's one other thing I want to talk about that you do, and it's the exit strategy on seller financing. So one of the things that you do that I think is really dope is finding someone pretty much to rent to own a property that you're seller financing. So can you talk about that strategy a bit?
Yeah. So if you buy on terms, you can also sell on terms, right? In my particular, there's 2 ways to sell on terms. You could, there's more than 2 ways, but you can sell. If you buy seller finance, you can sell through seller finance. We call that a slow flip. My friend Scott Jelinek made that phrase up, and Now, there's a couple of other investors using that same exact phrase. It's called a slow flip, right? And basically, what that means is I'm going to buy it and I'm going to sell it for $50,000 more, for example, but it's going to be in the form of monthly payments through seller financing to another investor or some, it's a fixer upper, so I don't have to do anything, right? Or you can sell it on a lease purchase. Now, I prefer, both of them. Out of both of them, I prefer lease options, but it just depends on the state that you live in, the local laws. Sometimes the laws can benefit one over the other, but you buy on terms, you sell on terms. You can collect a bag for real. Like you can collect money up front, collect that monthly income, and then collect on the back end as well through the form of a balloon payment.
Love it, love it. How do you find the right person for that? Because I was looking at some of your videos, and some of the comments people were making was, well, how do I find somebody who is suitable for this? Because if they couldn't qualify with the bank, why should I let them live here and do this lease option with me?
You qualifying, man. A lot of times I'm on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace doing all of my marketing, right? But we're looking for a specific type of person. If they can afford to put down a certain amount of money, right? Which we ask for a good amount of money down. If they can afford to do that, they can afford to rehab a house, for example. A lot of times we're selling to contractors, investors. We're not selling to what the average person think is the typical first time home buyer who's broke and looking to put down 3.5%. That's not my market. My market is people who have some capital, and believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there who have capital to be able to do this, right? A lot of times we're selling houses that can be lived in. Yes, they need a lot of cosmetic work, but this person is willing to put in the sweat equity. So we lower the price enough to where it's beneficial for them to want to put that sweat equity in. They put down a handsome down payment, which, the more they put down, the less likely they are to not close the deal at the end, right? So we collect a good amount up front, usually $10,000 to $20,000 on a $100,000 property, right? And if they're putting that kind of money down, that tells you that they got some money to put into fixing it up. I don't go through a whole screening process all the time. I judge by the person, you know what I mean? And that will tell me what I can do. So like a lot of times, a lot of people I'm selling to, they're unmortgageable. Sometimes they come from a different country, but they have money, right? They just don't want to pay cash for a property. They don't want to go. A lot of people I sell to don't even want to go through a bank. They look for these type of opportunities, and they fix the house up to where it makes sense for them. They have a sense of ownership at that point. They're still getting a discounted property, and we get to collect money on all fronts as well. You know what I mean?
Definitely, it makes a lot of sense. So is the idea that based on however the terms are, that they'll make that balloon payment, by the time they make that balloon payment, they'll be mortgageable and be able to make sense?
And a lot of times, man, if they're not mortgageable, we continue to work with them, bro. It's like, okay, so we negotiate our agreement with the seller. You know what I mean? Look, we've had a perfect track record with you. Let's extend the agreement. I know you collecting these monthly checks. So we use our form of our persuasion, right? And then we go back and we extend that to them, right? So if they can't get a mortgage, fine. It's not like they're going to lose out on their money. We're not in business for that. They start recommending people to us. You know what I mean? So you can't do it in 5. Okay, let's extend this out another 2 years. You know what I mean? Or we'll help you become mortgageable. Or, a lot of people come up with the cash. It just depends on the price point, obviously. But, 9 times out of 10, if I'm talking to the average person right now, they're going to go out and get a mortgage. We're going to help them become mortgageable within that time frame.
Got it. That's dope, man. I think the theme is just creativity, especially in a market like this.
And if they're not mortgageable, we can do the mortgage. We can create seller financing for them at that point. You know what I mean? So again, it's just there's a plan. The world is your oyster. The business is your oyster. What you're only is limited to what you can think. That's it.
Definitely. Love it. Want to take some questions?
Sure. Let's do it, man.
All right. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat.
We're giving a shout out to everybody on the line, by the way. Definitely ask away if you have any questions. If not, we're gonna call it a wrap. While we're at it, make sure you check out the Black Real Estate Dialogue. My man Sam Dolcine.
Appreciate that.
Definitely check him out on YouTube and on Instagram. Make sure you check out my Patreon and all the links in the description box. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check all the links in the bio in the description box. I was about to say bio. I'm thinking we're on
Instagram.
But do all of that. This is Creative Financing 101 live Q&A, having a discussion about creative financing, clearing up some things. If you got any questions, feel free to ask away. If not, Sam, if you have any other questions, we can always go that route as well, bro.
Dope, man. No, I definitely appreciate this. And like I said, I'm always tapped into your content. One of the things I want to do next is a creative finance deal of my own. And so it's just good getting such practical information. So I appreciate it, man. And, you know, I think it's just all about creativity. And I think people need to understand that and just get out of the box of normal financing, normal deals. Like there's always a new and different way to do something than we knew. So I think, you know, this is going to have a whole lot of great information for people to pick up, man.
I just got a comment literally on my YouTube page just now, right? This is why people fail. And I'm gonna put this, I'm not trying to put this guy on the spot, but I'm gonna just read what his comment says. It says, real game, I'm gonna try. That's the key word. All steps and see what happens. You know what I mean? I'm glad that this person wants to try it, but that's where people fail. You can't try it. You got to do it. You know what I mean? By trying something, you're literally setting yourself up mentally to fail. That's basically what it is. That's the truth, man. So, shout out to you. I'm not going to say who it is, but shout out to you for at least having that type of mindset. But I wanted to offer a little bit of a correction in mindset so that you can set yourself up for success, not failure. Shout out to you for leaving that comment too, though, man. But I do see we have a couple comments that just came in. Let's see here. So you want to ask those questions away, man?
Yeah. So
straight
right here. Okay, cool. Straight legit 713. Thanks for your question. What are the best lists to pull for wholesaling and subject to?
Two different types of real estate investing. Literally two different types. So I just gave you some game on subject to pre-foreclosures, right? Wholesaling, you're going after vacant properties that need work, right? So I like the vacant property list.
Love it. And then the next question is Steven Sanchez. What is the best way to find a mentor for wholesaling in my area?
Go to your local real estate investors association, but make sure that the person that you decide to hire is actually doing deals. We have a mentorship program. You can check the link in the description box if you want more information on that as well. We're not cheap. You pay for what you get, what you pay for, but at the same time, you will get results.
I think that's it for questions.
Yeah, this is a light question day, man. What's up, y'all? What's going on, man?
We got to get some more questions. We know there's some more y'all in there.
Like, this is free game right here. Y'all better jump up on
real.
It. But usually I get a lot of questions. This is a live Q&A. I don't know what's going on. But, hey, if that's what it is, man, I think if we're not getting a lot of questions, we provided some real good value today, man. That's just what it is, But any more questions from you?
What's one thing somebody can do tomorrow to start to generate some leads for some off-market deals and start seller financing?
Go driving for dollars, man. Just find 100 houses this week. Try to have 50 meaningful conversations, make offers, and take action. That's it. Should I buy? Here's another one that just came in. Should I buy multifamily or single family for starters? I'll let you answer that one, man.
I think you just got to figure out what works for you. I mean,
exactly.
Let's say you want to buy in the city, wherever you live at right now, look at some of the prices, and that should be able to tell you where you want to start off at. But I mean, I don't think it really matters. I think both can generate income for you. You just got to figure out what you want to go with. There's not a
There's
right
no
or
right
wrong
way.
one.
That's
Yeah.
right. It also depends on the market that you live in. So, like for example, you might be in New York City, right? You're gonna find more multifamily properties out there
Mhm.
than single family, right? So it just depends on your market makeup. So that's what you need to get familiar with. But there's no right way to answer that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Got another
Um,
one.
Another one just came in. Um, how do y'all feel about buying apartment complexes? When do you think someone should start? Depends on your that depends on your situation. You know what I mean? Um, Apartment complexes. If you can't handle a single family residence, you shouldn't be looking at apartments yet. I believe in building up to that, but some people might differ when it comes to that in the thought process. I think if you can handle a 4 unit, you can handle an 8 unit. If you can handle an 8, you can handle 16. You can handle 32 after that. You know what I mean? But build up to that. I love the fact that you're thinking big, but start where you are. What's your current circumstances? Look at that and then build off of that. That's when you should start when you're capable of doing it. You know what I mean? What how you feel about that, bro?
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think the big apartments is cool, is it's fly to be able to do that, to say you have 20, 30, 40 units, whatever the case is. But so many people want to get to that big goal so bad that they don't realize that they could start with like a single family or a duplex. Like people think too far ahead. And I do also agree with building up, getting some confidence. It's like someone who buys their first rental property, right? I don't think you should try to do a full gut job your first deal. Maybe something that needs a little bit of rehab to build your confidence
Cosmetics.
up. And then eventually you can take on larger projects. I think the same concept applies. I wouldn't, I mean, I don't think there's a need to try to go huge on your first deal. Get a base hit, make a layup, and then eventually
Um,
a 3-pointer and so on.
and a lot of people don't realize too, man, you make less money on apartments than you do on regular single family homes on a per door basis, right? So for example, I could get a single family house and make 500 a month. The average apartment is going to average you 150 to $200, sometimes less, right? The more apartments you have, the less money you make per deal, per door. You know what I mean? So it just depends on what you're trying to do. Houses are going to appreciate in value, even though you could get the big bag on apartments, right? By raising rents, that's how you make the money. Value play, but on single family, you're playing the appreciation game. So it just depends on how you want to play, man. There's no right and wrong answer. Obviously, with apartments, you're gonna, you know, you can get the big bag, but
Yeah,
at the end of the day, if you got 1,000 houses versus 1,000 doors, it may be easier to manage 1,000 doors than houses. So it just depends on your mindset and how you want to play the game, man. This is all Monopoly in real life. So that's the way you got to think about it. You know what I'm saying?
definitely.
Another good question. Oh, we starting to roll in now and we cooking.
Yeah.
So let's get into this. All right. So do you use virtual agents or do it all in-house? It just depends. When you say virtual agent, you talk about virtual assistants. That's what I'm trying to. Oh yeah, virtual
Yes.
assistant.
Virtual
Okay, so
assistants.
virtual assistants. I do use virtual assistants. I do have some in-house players as well. Um, I mix it up based on, like, I give the virtual assistants the minutia tasks. So it might be data entry and stuff like that. Sometimes it's cold calling. You know what I mean? But it just depends on how good their language is, right? How good they speak, because they'll get the phone hung up on them real fast, right? So it just depends, man. I test out a lot of things to see what works, and then I capitalize on what does work. So the answer to that is yes, I do virtual assistants. I mix it up, and then because I can't have a virtual assistant go see a property for me, but I could hire a local person who's virtual to go take pictures of properties for me. So it just depends. You know what I mean? Uh, how about you, man? With that question, go back to that one.
Um,
I know
no,
you
I
do a
haven't.
lot of virtual investing though, so
Yeah. So I have a couple properties out in Ohio. So I have an investor out there who,
tell them
if I'm
where
looking,
you're located. Tell them where you're located right now. I know
yeah.
you're from
So I,
Brooklyn, just like
yeah,
me.
from Brooklyn. Been living in LA for about 7 years, and I invest in Ohio, which is however many thousand miles away. So I have an investor I know out there. If even before I have like an agent or something, go through, do a walk through the property. I have them drive the area, send me a video, send me pictures, give me the rundown. And she does the move-ins, she does the move-outs, and she, I pay her for her time, but she kind of just takes care of some of those things for me. So I guess that's a virtual assistant in a way. Like, she has a business where she helps out of town investors. So I do leverage folks virtually, in that sense.
Got it, man. So, and again, you're buying in Ohio, you live in LA. Naturally, you're going to be doing things virtually. You know what I mean? So Dr. Feels Good. That's dope.
That's a dope name.
What are the best sites to use as a beginner to look for properties outside of driving around the town? You know what, man? Join these local Facebook groups. That's one way to do it. It depends if you want to go the free route, if you want to spend a little bit of money, if you have a marketing budget. But the first way, it depends on your exit strategy as well. Because like somebody that's looking to fix and flip, which to me, this is a great market where I live at to fix and flip. Even right now, houses are flying off the shelf, right? So naturally, I'm going to go through a realtor and wholesalers to find deals for fix and flip, because I don't want to have to vet all of the sellers. If I'm looking for creative finance and wholesale deals, then I'm spending money on marketing, right? So you can go through these Facebook groups and network with wholesalers and realtors. You can spend money on marketing. It just depends on your situation, really. You know what I mean? You got anything to add to that, bro?
No, that's spot on. I agree with that.
Absolutely, man. Let's go to the next one. MBW Marco TV. Shout out to you, man. So where to start as a beginner with big dreams but low funds, man? You wanna add to that?
Yeah. So I would say once this is done, rewind it and watch the whole thing. I think that's a great place to start. I mean, if you don't have money, I know, Jamel, you have a ton of videos on how to do that. I think the biggest video you have is exactly how to do that. So, you're gonna have to get creative. And I think on Jamel's page, you got a lot of information. And even in this live, if you rewind it back, that'll help you get started. What you got?
I 100% agree with that, man. I literally have a playlist on YouTube which focus on getting started in investing. So first thing I would do, learn the lingo. Don't spend too much time learning, because the best way to learn is honestly to do. So get yourself familiar with the ropes, and a lot of times, you just need the bare minimum. If you got a little bit of capital, have somebody show you how to do it. But more so than anything, just pick up the phone and start calling people. Take action. You don't know what to do, call these for sale by owner signs. I just gave you some game on driving for dollars. Contact 50 people, 50, find 50 houses and contact the owners. Use the information on this YouTube page. It's all there for you, man. People pay money for what I'm sharing on YouTube. It's all here for free, right? If you want to go a little more in depth, a little more organized, you invest a little bit of money into a course. You need more help, you get a coach. Do you need it? No, you don't. You need yourself to be motivated. You know what I mean? So one of my favorite quotes, I put it out on YouTube today. A lion don't get up in the morning thinking about how they're going to eat. They think about what they feel like eating. Then they go out and get it, right? Be like the lion. What do you feel like eating? Take action to go get it. Don't be like the gazelle who's trying to figure out how they're going to eat. They're going to pick up the scraps from the lion. Be the lion, right? So just take action, bro. All right, man. Dr. Feels Good. Also, where does your credit and finances have to be to start creative financing? I started off in a real estate business with $250 in my name and terrible credit. How did my credit? I was 21 years old. How did my credit get bad when I finished high school? You know how they start giving you all these credit card offers? That was free money to me, man. So I ran up all the credit cards and I never paid them. So my credit score was like a 300. You know what I mean? And I had $250 in my name. So you could be broke as a joke with a little bit of money and some drive and be able to do this. You just need to take action. That's your value play right there. You know what I mean? If you're going more to the traditional route, then of course you need some money, 5% down, good job, W-2s and all of that stuff. I don't play the traditional game. I play the creative game. I do use bank financing these days. My credit is good. I have money, so I can refinance and take out long-term funding from banks. But again, I'm buying problems and I'm solving the problem. The problem, the property will allow you to have the income to be able to get the financing. You know what I mean? So learn the game, man. That's what you got to do. You got anything to add to that, bro?
No, I agree. I agree. I'd say watch this video again. Watch the playlist that Jamel has, and you'll be on your way.
Yeah, for sure, man. How many buildings do you guys own? A lot. I would never tell anybody that online. I don't own anything. I control a lot of different things. Let's just put it that way. Are they under management or ran directly by you? A lot of times we use management companies to do things, but again, I don't own anything. I control everything, and the reason why I say I don't own anything is for anonymity. So we buy everything through a trust, through different trusts, and our companies own those trusts, or they run those trusts, I should say. When we're doing seller finance, when we're taking out bank finance, and obviously the play is different, but we have enough doors. I was financially free by 30 years old. Let's put it that way. And I'm 42 today.
Love it.
Would you tell anybody online how many doors you own?
I have 2 single family homes in
Okay.
Ohio. Yeah.
Got it.
Don't come after me.
Do I buy properties without seeing them? Yes, I do. It just depends. I've done it a ton of times, but I have experience. I wouldn't recommend doing that if you're brand new. Could you elaborate on wraps? Wraps is basically a subject to, is a form of a subject to. The difference between wraps and subject to is with a subject to, if the owner of the property tries to get a mortgage on the property to buy a new house, they can't. With a wrap, they can get a document that states that the debt that they have on that property is being offset in order to be able to purchase a new property. Another thing, so a wrap is almost like a second mortgage on a property, right? So you can take, let's say somebody owed $100,000 on a house and they wanted to sell it for 120. I can create a new mortgage of 120 grand to wrap the existing 100. I'll make one payment on the 100 for the seller, and then make the other payment towards the 20 to the seller or through my third-party mortgage company. That's basically how a wrap works in a nutshell. I have a video on wraps in my creative finance playlist. Be sure to check it out. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate the gems. Dr. Phil Goods, we appreciate you. All right, CM, 3 years since we have 3 years since we have been rejected to buy our first house. My husband have a full-time job. I have a part-time, 3 kids. Any advice? Said BSE your debt. I'm not understanding that question, man. Do you understand it, bro?
Yeah, I think she's saying, let's see. She's at the end, she's saying, any advice? It sounds like she wanted to say they said because of your debt. So it sounds like because of their debt to income ratio, they were rejected for a mortgage to buy their first house. So they're trying to figure out, I guess they're trying to figure out what to do.
All right. So, I mean, you're going to, it sounds like you're going a traditional route. Honestly, to fix the debt to income ratio, you could do 2 things: make more money or lower your debt. That's pretty much what it is. Or the third option, which is the bonus, is to become an investor. Think like an investor. And again, listen to this Q&A all over again. We gave you all the game that you needed right here. You're trying to buy the traditional route. We buy problems. So we're able to solve problems, which allows us to be able to pick up properties. So focus on problems and you won't have that problem that you have right now. You know what I mean? You want to add anything to that, bro?
No, I agree with that. I think there's some ways they can work on it, the debt to income situation, or do something creative. Maybe they do a lease option type of situation for a property. Maybe that's something that could be a good option for them if they don't have the time to wait to fix the debt to income ratio and things like that. So maybe that's something they could look into.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, man. Martin Evans, what CRM do you use? I have my own real estate software that I've developed over the years. Right now, we're temporarily using a different software because my other one is being worked on. But investordealpro.com. Check out the link in the description box and you'll get the answer to that one. Shout out to you, Martin Evans. Do you need any automation? GPT, AI, I gotcha. That stuff is brand new. I use it. I started playing around with it. In fact, I put out a wholesale video about a month ago showing you how to use it. That video is pretty long, but it is literally A to Z how to wholesale houses. You would never have to buy a wholesale course if you watch that video, right? It's called How to Wholesale Real Estate Step by Step. I believe I'm one of the best trainers on YouTube that's actually doing the business as well. But I'm biased, of course, right? So do you need any automation? No. Chat GPT just came out. I made millions of dollars without doing without using Chat GPT. But will it make things helpful? Only time is going to tell. You want to add anything to that, bro?
I'm still toying around with like all the AIs and stuff like that. So I'm sure it could be useful depending on what it is you're trying to do with it. But it's so early. And so I tinker with it a lot. But yeah, I mean, you just got to figure out how to best use it.
That's it, man. We got room for a couple more questions, bro.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So Curtis Cotton, shout out to you, man. There's another question from you. It says, do you recommend taking out a normal loan or business loan when first buying a property? You got to be careful. So business loans are different than when you say normal loan. Are you talking about like a personal loan or a business loan? That's what I need to get clear on first. You talking about business loan or personal loan? Let's see.
Here.
Yeah, if you're still here, I'll come back to your question if you answer that. But again, I'm trying to minimize how much money I'm putting out towards real estate and how much money that I have to sign on a dotted line for, right? So you have something called good debt and bad debt. Good debt is real estate, bad debt is credit card debt or business loan, unless you're using that business loan to be able to get more real estate. So even like a HELOC, for example, that could be bad debt if you're using it to fix up your house, but it could be good debt if you're using it to make more money. So personal loans, business loans, if I'm using loans in general, I don't care where the money is coming from. I'm just going to make sure I can make money off of that money in order to be able to make it happen. So I hope that personal, he says, so personal versus business, it just depends, bro. I'm always going to try to put stuff under a business before I put it under a personal. I buy houses on business credit cards and personal credit cards, but it just depends. It depends on the situation. I'm looking at each deal as they come in, and I'm judging based on that how I want to move on a piece of real estate. I'm going to say be responsible, be smart. Always try to use your business. If you have that kind of credit, use your business before you use the personal. But if you're going out to get a regular mortgage, chances are, if you're going through a hard money lender, you're going to have to use your business. If you go through FHA, you're going to have to use your personal. So again, that falls into the it depends category. You agree with that, bro?
I do.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's as simple as that, man. Just depends. Hector Diaz, he's in the North Carolina market. Any specific, any area specific you have having more success than others? I focus on the triad, man. I'm not really in Charlotte like that anymore. If I find a good deal somewhere in the weeds where it's cheap, I'm buying it. But my primary market is right here in the triad, man.
Where's the triad? You're in Greensboro, right?
Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem. Yep.
Gotcha.
That's where it works best for me.
Gotcha.
All right. So, do you recommend a wholesaler team up with a real estate agent to make sure the process is smoother? No. Don't get me wrong. I love real estate agents for different reasons, but when it comes to wholesaling, they're going to just complicate the process, man. And you don't really need them anyway. So unless you're wholesaling houses on the MLS. which is, in this market is going to be hard to do because we're still in the seller's market. You know what I mean? So, no. Jamel, do you need anything? I could take pictures of properties in Houston. Houston is actually one of my markets. I got a team out there. I have a couple students that's doing really, really well out there. One of my students he does 7 figures a year
Wow.
out there, right? One of my previous students that's 7 figures a year out there. So, I team up with him a lot. He does, I utilize his stuff right now. Not necessarily. I am going to be in Houston next month, August 25th through the 27th. I'm speaking at Gene Boykin's Go Getter family event that he's having out there in Houston. I just did a call with him, a live a couple of days ago. Be sure to check my lives, and you can watch that if you want to come join us. There is a small investment to go, I believe, but I look forward to seeing you there. For a business loan, this is a great question. My man Curtis is blowing it up right now. Boy, you're on fire.
Yeah.
For a business loan, do you need an EIN? Yes, you do. It's a business loan. And how capital partners work. They can work in a lot of different ways. You can have a gap lender. You can have a full-blown private money lender. You can get somebody just to be a partner, a 50-50 split. Is all in how creative you want to be, man. And obviously that's kind of I'm kind of scratching the surface with that, but that's exactly how it works. Do you want to add anything to that, bro?
No, I think that's it right there. I haven't used capital partners yet, but again, there's a million different ways you could structure it.
Yep, exactly, man. So how can I work with my capital partners? It depends on the deals that you're finding. How do I do? Well, there's a lot of, especially in our community, right? There in the real estate community, there's a lot of people who's giving money directly to people, and then that person doesn't perform. Do not ever give money to somebody. You don't need to. Go through an attorney. Make sure you have a note. If you're getting money from somebody, make sure a note is created through an attorney. A promissory note to say that you're going to pay back the money. Make sure the money is backed up by real estate. There's a real deal on the plate. Do not ever cut a check to somebody direct, right? In addition to that, that's if you're giving money to somebody. If somebody's giving you money, protect yourself and protect your private money investor by getting a note created, by making sure the property is backed up by real estate, by making sure everything is filed at the courthouse. So if you weren't to get your money back, you can or the lender can't get their money back, they can foreclose on and keep the property. Everybody's protected. Don't ever cut. Like, let's say you came to me and I know you, Sam, but if we wanted to do some business, I'm not going to, and you asked me for 100 grand, I'm not going to cut you a check for 100,000 direct. We're going to give it to the attorney. The attorney is going to create a note. Yep. I'm going to make sure the real estate exists. I'm going to make sure the value of the real estate exists, just in case if, I needed to get my money back. If you're putting the money into $100,000 property, is it worth 200? So I want an appraisal done before we actually close the deal. I want to see it. I want a contractor's estimate. I'm going to think like a hard money lender. There's a reason why hard money lenders do business the way they do, and they never lose money. They're making sure the appraisal is done. So they're looking for the value. They're making sure you have skin in the game. They're making sure the contractor's estimate comes in. So if the property needs work, they know exactly how much work needs to be done. And if you don't pay them, they get to keep the property and they can do all the work themselves, fix it up, and get all their money back plus a profit. If you cut somebody a check for 100 grand and they can promise you the sun, moon, and stars, that don't mean jack to me, man. That means they can put the money in their bank account I don't care if they call it a fund. I don't care what they call it. You know what I mean? They can call it anything they want. If I can't, I'm not investing into no real estate funds. I can do that part myself. You know what I mean? So protect your money. If you I just told you exactly what to do. If you make the mistake giving somebody your money, cutting them a check, they put that money in their bank account, you're never going to see it again. Don't come online complaining about it. You know what I mean? So if you make the mistake from here on out, it's your fault. You're the dummy. You know what I mean? I'm just being real with you. Don't ever give nobody money. Make sure you give it to the attorney who's going to then file a proper paperwork to be able to make sure the loan is legit so that you won't have to be talking about, you know, you lost out on all this money and you go around trying to sue somebody. You know what I mean? You won't have to go through all of that if you have the proper paperwork in play, because then you have, in exchange for the money that you put up, you have the asset as well, and you can get all your money back when you sell the asset, and vice versa for your lender. If you're the one trying to go around, you know, there's a big word. I'm not going to say it here because I don't want to get flagged. You know what I mean? But if you're going around taking people's money and not paying them back, you know, you need to rethink on how you do business. So just to kind of, you know, I hope you guys kind of got the gist of what I was trying to say. But how can you work with your capital partners? There's a number of different ways to do it. Gap lending is basically filling the void. If you, for example, you're buying a fixer up or you need hard money lenders want you to have some type of skin in the game these days. So you might need 10% down, plus you might need 6 months worth of payments, for example. It depends on the hard money lender. A gap lender can provide that money for you as a partner, but make sure you file a proper paperwork. A capital partner can be your private money lender and fund the whole thing for you. When I first started investing in real estate, the lady who owned the title company where I lived, she funded 100% of all my deals and rolled the payments into the loan. I never had to come out of my pocket with nothing. Right? So I never had them. All I had to do is get the thing done and flip it. She got all her money back plus the payments, and all I did was get the profit at the end. So there's a number of different ways to work it. You just got to be creative, but make sure you're following the proper paperwork all the time. You know what I mean? Excuse me. Curtis Colton, you just earned. I appreciate you, man. Great information. I'm flying planes right now. My man, getting my license to get to the airlines. That's what's up, bro. That's really what's up right there, man. But once I get situated, that's how you do it, man. Pilots make good money, man. So you're definitely going to be in a position to go the traditional route if you wanted to, man. You'll be cashed up. So it ain't really going to be a problem for you in a couple years. But learn all you can in advance so you can do the right things with your money. You know what I mean? So that's it, man. I think that's the last question, man. Man, it's been more fun than I anticipated, bro.
Yes, no, this is great, man. It was a lot of fun getting the questions, talking through strategy and stuff. Yeah, we definitely got to do this again soon.
Yeah, man. How often would y'all like to see some live Q&As, man? Let us know in the comment section. If you want to see these Q&As more often, join the Patreon right there. Let me put the banner up for you. It's literally $10 a month, a little less than that. You could go to patreon.com/Jamel Gibbs. I don't sell nothing, man. Y'all never hear me ask for anything in my YouTube videos and none of that. I just don't. I believe in providing value. I make a ton of money doing real estate. Do I have programs? People ask me all the time. I do. I have coaching programs. I have courses. I have Patreons and all that stuff, but you never hear me talk about it at all. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are always looking, but I never bring it up. But there's your opportunity right there. Start at the Patreon. It's a small investment of $9.99 a month. If you want to join, come check us out. How about you, bro?
Yes, follow my page. My YouTube channel is Black Real Estate Dialogue. It's in the description of the video as well. You can find me everywhere. Black Real Estate Dialogue on Instagram. If you want to check the podcast out, you can listen to it on YouTube, or you can go to Apple, Spotify, Black Real Estate Dialogue anywhere. Hit me up. You got questions? We'd love to hear from you. But Jamel, man, appreciate you. Allow me to be on your platform, and looking forward to being back.
Oh man, I think it's gonna be a regular thing here, man, because I had a lot of fun doing this. But check it out, guys. Subscribe to both channels. Subscribe to we definitely need more of these, right?
Definitely.
So maybe we can commit. Maybe we'll talk to I'll talk to Sam and we'll commit to maybe doing this. We'll come up with a schedule. We'll figure it out. But definitely continue to support us. We're trying to provide you guys with value. Anybody I ever bring on my channel, they're legit, right? And anybody I ever bring on my channel, they're good people who truly want to provide value to you. So, you guys can tell that we all want to see everybody win, because I think the world would be a better place if everybody wins, right? Because then you won't have to worry about locking your doors if everybody's a millionaire, right? I could leave my door wide open at that point. That's what we're looking for, a better world. So listen,
definitely
be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to Sam's as well. Click the notification bell. We're going to see y'all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good night.
All right, everybody. Peace.